Hunt, and this is a video of a guitar workshop I taught at the 2012 Midland Folk Music Festival. And the title of this workshop is Ki Hoalu, which is my weak Hawaiian pronunciation. But what that means is loosen the key. So this is a workshop in dropped tuning. And I did a similar workshop at Everett back in July, about 6 weeks ago. And I'm going to take off from that point and go into a little more, I guess it's a little more complicated because we're tuning more strings than we did back in Everett. This is probably the most common slack key guitar tuning. It's called G Taro Patch. And what does that mean? It's actually just open G. And it's been around, a little history of slack key guitar. It was back in the 1830s, the King of England made a gift to King Kamehameha of a bunch of cattle. And the cattle were fit right in. It was a good environment for them there on the big island of Hawaii. And they flourished. And there was also a taboo on harming cattle, or they didn't do any ranching or anything. So the cattle population grew and grew and got out of hand, and got to a point where the Hawaiians needed some help in managing this big cattle herd that had developed over the course of time, being in such a natural place for the cattle to flourish. So I ended up hiring a bunch of cowboys from Mexico and Spain. And of course, one of the things that the cowboys did to entertain themselves was to make music. And they brought their guitars along. And they stayed there a few years until they got the native, the islanders, enough training so they could take care of the cattle themselves. So these vaqueros, they brought their culture and their music to the Hawaiians. And when they left, the Panolos, which are the Hawaiian native cowboys, they had these guitars, and ukuleles were introduced then too. They had these instruments around. They didn't have anybody to really show them how to play. So they ended up developing a lot of tunings on their own and to tie into their native music. And they found that rather than using the Spanish tuning that we're more familiar with, EAD, GBE, that some of these alternate tunings worked well for their native music. And they developed a whole different way of playing the guitar. And there's many different Ki Hoalu tunings that we could study. I haven't really experimented with a lot of them. The Taro Patch tuning is probably, like I said, the most common, and that's just open G, which is also used in a lot of other guitar styles. Like if you're a rock and roller and you like the Rolling Stones, Keith Richards, a lot of the stuff he plays is in the open G. So like Brown Sugar, and some of those old Stone songs, all the licks he plays are in open G. We're not going to cover that today, but I'm just going to teach some basics, show you where the chords are, and since they're all open chords, you can kind of guess there are going to be a lot of bar chords involved. And I'm going to teach you not a Hawaiian song, but this is actually a Fijian song from the island of Fiji. It's the song they play when people leave, like a farewell song. It's very beautiful, called Isa Lei. And then if we have time, we're going to play maybe a more familiar song, which is definitely not a Hawaiian song. It's a German song. Around Christmas time, you'll hear it a lot, Silent Night, but it lays out pretty well in this tuning too. So the first thing we're going to do if we're going to approach this slack key guitar is to retune our guitar. So my guitar is in a standard tuning. And we're going to retune half the strings. We're going to retune the low E, the high E, and the A strings all down one step. So what we're going to end up is D, G, D, G, B, D. So we'll start here on the lowest string and tune it from E down to D. And like I said at Everett, when you're tuning your guitar, you want to go past where you're going and then bring it back up to pitch. So I'm down in the C sharp range now and moving up toward D. And there I've got a good low D. So our next string is the A string. We're going to tune that down a whole step as well from A to G. So I'm going to tune it down past G, and then start bringing it back up. then our normal D string, we're just going to leave the same. G is still the same. The B string, the 5th string is the same. It's a little high, so we'll tune that. That's another thing to remember when you're retuning is after you're done retuning all 6 strings, however many you're doing, go back and check them all together to make sure that you didn't get a little movement there when you're tuning some of the other strings. And then our high E, we're going to tune that down a step too. And this is the string that gets broken a lot, so I like to go really slow. And actually what I did when I started doing some of these alternate tunings with the treble strings is I bought a whole pack of just high E strings. But they do tend to break. It's good to have some on hand in case that should happen to you. Okay, so it's telling me I've got the 6th string to D, so now I'm just going to go ahead and strum. And you can hear it sounds like a nice G chord. So if you thought, dropped D or dropped G tuning that I taught in Everett are easy, this is even easier. So you have to get it in your head that to learn these new tunings, or actually to learn anything on the guitar, you have to let go of what's familiar and the chords that you've been doing forever. And it's always going to be tempting just to go back and retune it how you're used to, but if you do that, you've given up the battle and you're never going to learn. So one thing I suggest, a lot of people, if you're at the point where you're looking for a challenge and you've been playing guitar, well, you probably got at least 2 guitars around. So maybe take the one that's stuck away in the closet or up in the garage or up in the attic or somewhere that you're not using as much, and use that for dropped tunings. Just go ahead and dig that out. It might not be as nice a guitar, and that's okay. But that way, if you've got it in tune, you won't have to monkey around with all this retuning all the time and tuning back up and breaking strings, especially this 6th string, like I mentioned. So that's just a thought, maybe to build yourself some momentum so you carry on and actually get to where you enjoy doing this. And don't be afraid to, you got to do the woodshedding. I can show you what little bit I know, but there's just no way around the fact that you have to get out there and do it and stumble your way through it. And I made an analogy before, like learning to ride a bike. You gotta be willing to fall down a few times and skin your knees and skin your elbows and get up and do it again. So let that be an encouragement to you to follow through and give this alternate tuning thing a chance to fly. So let's talk about some of the simple chords that we'll be using. Of course, this is an open G. So, I guess what I want to get across, don't stop just saying, okay, well that's my G and that's the only G I need to know, because what gives slack key guitar character and feeling is that there's different ways to make the same chords. And since you don't have a lot to do, at least in the open G chord in this case, with your left hand, you have to kind of create some interest in that, because if you're just strumming this chord all day long and the C chord, that's okay for starters. Here's a D chord at the 7th fret, and you can do that, and that'll amuse you for a little while, but I don't think you'll get to where you want to make a career of that. So, and the thing, another thing I should mention about slack key guitar, it's played finger style. So you're playing melodies, and that's what creates the interest. But really the foundation is this alternating bass. You just keep that going all the time, and the Hawaiians think of that as being the heartbeat of a song. Just that steady bass that's always constant, and you're still changing your chords, but you're keeping your own time. You're setting the rhythm, and the rhythm's the most important part of any song. Keeping that good steady pace. And then what you're doing on the treble end, that's more where the artistry comes in. And that takes a little bit longer to learn. But you can do it. If you're interested enough to be watching this video, I think you've got a good chance of sticking with it and being able to learn something and putting it into play, having fun with it. So here's our G chord, D, G, D, G, B, D. And then here's our high G, which is just a 1-finger chord. 5th fret of the high string, the 6th string. And that's just like a bass run going backwards, except we're on the treble string doing a melody. And where are the notes? It's helpful. Really, the only two things that I'm good at, I'm a faker. I don't read I can read music a little bit, but not very well. But I know my theory, so I know what notes I'm looking for, and I know my scales. And that's important to know. I would encourage you, theory is boring, and nobody likes to just sit down with a book and try to make sense of, all that gibberish that it can be. But if you have an understanding in your head, like the circle of fifths and what chords go together and what a relative minor is, like it's the 6th degree of the major chords. So, in G tuning would be E minor is a minor you're going to use a lot. But I've learned where the notes are, and another thing about this tuning is that 5 of your 6 notes are D's and G's. So, you've got 3 D's and 3 G's, so the scales are the same. They're just an octave apart. So there's half your strings, and you know where the notes are. So, like on the D strings, D is open, E is at the 2nd fret, F sharp's the 4th fret, and then you've got another G up at the 5th fret. See, and then you've got your open G right next to it. Same's true on the 4th string. D, E, F sharp, G, G. And then with your B string, it's G, A at the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then the open B. And then on the B string, the notes are B, C, D. B is open, C is the 1st fret, D is the 3rd fret. You say, well, why bother learning this note because I got an open D here? Because sometimes it's nice to have a double D. So you get that droney, like a Celtic feel to the song. And other times you're going to want to do some other things other than have on your D string. So you're going to need the D here on the 5th string. Now here's a C chord, which is familiar because here's your standard tuning C, 0, 2, 0, 3, 2, 0, 1, 0. Of course, to make the full C, we don't have an open E anymore. It's open D, so we need to turn this D into an E string. So that would be a 5-string chord unless you use your thumb and you hook this D and turn that into an E. So you've got 3 E's. All your D's get turned into E's. 1st string, 3rd string, 6th string. That's thumb, middle finger, ring finger. And you turn the open B into a C with your 1st finger at the 1st fret of the 5th string. Say, well, didn't you just tell us about bar chords? Yes, and of course, same thing holds true. If this is an open G chord, 1st fret is A flat, A, B flat, B, and then we get to our 4 chord, which is going to be used a lot in any song that's in the key of C, of G, and of course that's the C chord. So that's G and C, the 1 chord G, the 4 chord C, and then the 5 chord is D. So that's a bar at the 7th fret. And when you're making the D chord, you might want to leave this D open. Then you've got that really low bass, so you're just barring the top 5 strings. the other shape to make a D, you know, this would be your standard tuning D. The problem is you got a G note instead of A here, so you're going to want to not play the second string. That's not part of a D chord. And you're also, if you're making your standard tuning D, you're turning this D into an E, and you'd rather have an F sharp. So how can you do that? You can either just use your pinky, or you can make it this way. See, I'm just making my D and then using my pinky, or this way I can, you know, I'm just more or less barring 3 strings at the 2nd fret, the top 3 strings, 4, 5, 6. And see what happens when I get that G, it doesn't sound right. Here's another way you can make a D. Leave this D open, and you've got that double D like I was just talking about a couple minutes ago. And a way you can get rid of this problem of accidentally playing the open G string is to use your pinky at the 4th fret of the 3rd string, which gives you an F sharp in the chord, which you wouldn't have otherwise, because this is just a power chord. It's just D, D, A, D, D. Just D's and A's, no F sharp. So using your pinky here, that gives you your F sharp. The other thing you can do is kind of nudge your fingernail of your pinky up against that G string that you don't want to mute it. Okay, so I'm kind of doing 2 things at once here. So if I do hit it, you just get a kind of a percussive sound instead of a wrong note like this. So those are D chords. Here's a D chord, and that's your 1, 4, and 5 chords. So that'll give you a good start. A couple other major chords, of course, 2nd fret bar is going to be A. Okay, here's another G chord. All right, so if you're making, well, a bar chord in standard position would be here. However, these, you know, we've got a D here, so I'm gonna do my G like we would, you know, do it this way, except I'm gonna pick up my finger off this string. So I'm gonna have double D, and I'm gonna have open, open, 5, 4, 3, open. And I've got this pinky just kind of hanging here in no man's land, and it really wants to do something and participate. So I'm gonna fill out the chord by putting my pinky on the 5th fret of the 6th string. Do it either way. You can just do it the lazy man's way, and that's fine. Unless you want more of a percussive sound, you can do. If you want the open strings, which probably more typically you do want in this you know, Hawaiian sort of music, but you know, learn them both. Like I always say, the more options you have, the more interesting your playing will be. So there's a G chord with a high G and an F sharp. So that'd be a G major 7th, G add 6, just open G. Then we're going to a C chord with the C note on top. G with a B on top. D. G. See that last one, let's go through that run again, just running down. 2nd fret, C. And we could make make a bar chord with the D. So we don't have too many notes here. It's hard to pick anything interesting because we don't want to really go above the melody. So this would be a case where we probably would want to make our A here. That would be the second fret of the fourth string. And we can do, that's a descending scale, we can do an ascending scale. C, or it's a C chord with a C on top. And there's a C with an E on top. This is our first position way. It's 0, it's X on the top, we're not playing the open D string. 0, 2, 0, 1, 2. Or we can do the bar chord and just do the middle four strings. And then our D chord. And then G. If we want to keep going up, we can do that too. Just a bar. There's really only 3 shapes for major chords, and they're not that hard. They're similar at least to shapes that you use in standard tuning. One is the bar. 2 is, I would call, a slant going this way. Optional here, I'm just playing, since I'm playing the G chord, I've got D, G, D here. So I've got open, 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 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret. So that's one of the shapes, is this slant thing. And you can, if you're playing where you don't want this open D string, you use your ring finger, and that goes at the same fret, because remember open we've got D, D, D. So if we fret these 2 strings at the same fret, they should be an octave apart. And that's a G chord. The other shape, you know, if you're a banjo player, this will come naturally to you, because these are shapes banjo players use, because they're tuned open G too. And you know, these top 4 strings are the same as a banjo, D, G, B, D. They have a drone string on the top that's a G, that'd be this same G, only about 2 octaves higher. But we're not playing the banjo, we're playing slack key guitar today. So here's our G chord. C chord is moved down 1 fret, and we're going to swap these 2 fingers. We're going to go from here to here. So we have here's C, up 2 frets is a D. Same thing, we want to flood out this, mute out this open G string, the 2nd string. And then we can do a bar on the top for our G again. Which is hard. That's 12's about as far as you're going to go with a bar chord with your pointer, if you don't have a cutaway, like I do not. I don't have a guitar with a cutaway, so if you want to take up a collection, buy me a Christmas present. That'd be a good place to start. So, again, just our 1, 4, 5 chords, just some different ways to make them. For a G chord, open, so this is this shape. Swap these 2 and move it down. Here's another G chord. I don't think that's practical without a cutout. What this is, you can't get your whole hand in there, but you know, you can just play your open G chord with this crazy high G on the top. So those are G's, C's. say, well, that doesn't look like any of my other shapes, but it is actually, because you have an unspoken finger here at the nut. So it's really this shape. Okay? Remember we got our, where we're interchanging our middle finger and pointer? We just did the 3 basic shapes for major chords. Except it's easier to play this way because it's more familiar from our standard position C to do this. Another C at the 5th fret open. We have to bar all 6 strings if we're going to use this alternating bass C, G. Another C is up here. So I've got X, not playing the D, open 2nd string, 10, 9, 8, 10. Then we're starting to run out of room here. Alright, that's our last C. Way up here. We're probably not going to be going up here too much, at least in the first 2 or 3 days that you start tackling this alt-slack key style. But that is a valid C. It's just this an octave up. So, you know, we put the nut at 12. And it's open 14, 12, 13, 14. It's kind of a bonus C chord, think of it that way. And then our D chords. And the advantage of using your ring finger here is 2 things. Again, you get an F sharp and you can mute this open G string. There's the bar D at the 7th fret. Again, we like to leave this nice low bass open. See there, I have the ringing G again because I'm plucking the wrong string. If I mute it, I just get the thud, which is better than a wrong note, as I mentioned before. I can do this one. You know, I can't do the 4-finger version because that's pretty close to being too difficult to use in the heat of a battle. So, but anyway, this is open X. Don't play the G. Open 14, 15, 16. And that's all your basic major chords for your 1, 4, 5 chords, G, C, and D. So what are the other chords you need to know? Well, you probably want to know a couple minor variations. But you only have 1 string to worry about other than a bar chord to make major chords a minor. That's this B string. Because again, we've got all 1s and 5s, except 1, 3. So D's a 5, G's a 1, D's a 5, G's a 1, B is a 3, Do, Re, Mi, third note in the G scale, and D is a 5 again. So a minor chord is 1 flat, 3, and 5. So like an A minor, if you could just make an A chord, but instead of making a C sharp, because B, C, C sharp, we just want this C. So, you know, we're going to start running out of fingers. The actual notes in the chord would be, just to use these 4 inside strings, and 2, 2, 2, 1. This is an A minor 7th because we lost our A and traded it in for a G by taking our pinky off of the 2nd fret of the 4th string And then we turn this high D into an E by putting the pinky down on the 6th string at the 2nd fret. But that's good. You know, we're going to talk about some of these ornamentations I'm doing, which are hammers, hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides, that sort of thing. There's a lot of that in this Hawaiian music, this slack key style. So, you know, the other thing about folk music that's just true in general terms is, as far as I'm concerned, there's no rules. Okay, that's one of the beauties of folk music. Is it's not like being in an orchestra where you've got your score in front of you and you've got to play it just the way it's written. There's no room left for you to interpret it. You're just a technician. And that's fine if you like that sort of thing, but I don't, because there's people that are great at doing that, but you're playing somebody else's music for me, okay? And you know, maybe that's why I prefer this kind of music, is because, you know, as your skills increase and you start developing your own style, you can take just about any song and make it your own, and play the things that come to you and the things that you've learned. So that's just kind of an aside. But you know, using hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides are definitely a part of this slack key guitar. So don't let anybody give you a hard time about that, okay? That's A minor. Again, we're talking about theory again, but A minor is the relative minor of C major. So a lot of times those chords are somewhat interchangeable. So if we make a C chord, that's just a suspended 4. And if we turn one of our, we got 3 open Ds. So if we're barring at 5, now we've got 3 open Gs. And if we turn one of them into an A, then we've got our A minor chord. Except our problem is our B is C, C sharp, D, D flat, E, so we're okay there. Our Ds have all become Gs, so we're going to make A minor 7th. So we can't, it's pretty hard to make all 3 of those Gs into As. The best way would be to just make it a 5-note chord. So I got my bar at 5 for my C, and I've got the 7th fret of the 4th, not the 4th, the 3rd and the 6th strings at the 7th fret. So that's another E minor. Your other minor you're going to use a lot, again in the key of G, is E minor, of course. That's easy. All we got to do, we've got our open strings are Ds, Gs, and Bs, so we just have to turn some of those Ds into Es. So this is all 3 of them. 1st, 3rd, and 6th strings all at the 2nd fret. How you want to do it is up to you, which fingers you choose to use. I'm a big proponent of thumbing the bass. Okay? I guess if I can use my thumb, that frees up one of my other fingers. That's how I look at it. And that's just a preference thing. So, you know, try both ways. You can, that's an E minor 7th, because I still got a D in the chord. E, G, E, G, B, D, which is the 7th. And there's just a complete E minor. And I'm strumming, which is, it's not as forbidden, but again, most of the slack key guitar is finger style. Although, you know, that's another thing that the Hawaiians did too, is they took some of the elements of Spanish, you know, the rasgado strum. You'll hear that sometime in this style of music as well. So don't throw that out, but it is primarily a finger style method of playing the guitar. There's probably the most common E minor you're going to use. So that's the, you know, the basic 5 chords that you're going to want to work with, at least at the outset. That's about the only ones I use. Now, of course, you know, all the majors, if you got some weird chords, or not necessarily weird chord, but, and like the 2 chord, you'll hear that sometimes. That's just a barred A, you know, that's easy enough. And then I showed you the shapes. And that's the shape for the A. So, you know, learn those 3 shapes for the major chords, and that's going to get you a long way. And then, you know, work on the A minor, B minor, E minors as well, because we're getting most of these G Taro Patch tuning songs are going to be in the key of G. I didn't show you B minor, but I like to use bar chords a lot. I'm moving my fingers around, which you know, creates a little more work, but you know, use the chords you know. And here's our standard position B minor, or this. So, you know, if we're not going to use these 2 bass strings, the only thing we have to remember is that we've tuned our 6th string down a step. So right now, if we're making our standard B minor shape, we've got an E in there, which, you know, in open position we'd have to fret, and that's why we learn our B minor this way. So we can either just get rid of it, or we can come up here to the 4th fret of the 6th string and get a F sharp in there. So here we got a double B. We got our open B on the 5th string, and we've got our 4th string fretted at the 4th fret. I've turned all these, you know, again, because if we were just, you know, walking up the neck here, G at the nut, G sharp, A flat, A, B flat, B. Here's a B chord, and our only problem is we need to minorize this D sharp to a B. So here I'm thumbing 3 strings at once, or I could even thumb 4. It's kind of like the 9th chord in standard tuning, where you've got 3 barred, you're fretting 1 fret above, and then you got 2 bass strings. You know, it's the same kind of an idea. It would be a bar chord, except you gotta back off on 1 string. Now on the D9th, or the 9th chords in standard tuning, it's the 4th string. In slack key G open tuning, it's the 2nd string. So we're going to need a long thumb. And here's what makes it a minor chord. Hear the difference? You're not going to need a B major chord too often. You can use a B7 sometimes in G tuning, but you know, you're more likely to see a B minor. This works too. So that's your B minor. So work on those chords, and you know, that provides the foundation. and you experiment with them. You find different ways to make the chords, and you find different notes to bring in and pull out. So that's kind of the core of slap key, but now I want to teach you a couple songs like I talked about, because when I took piano lessons when I was 8, I really got sick and tired of just this practicing crap all the time. Although you have to do it to learn the techniques, it's important. I'm not saying that it isn't, but you also have to have some fun. You have to have some songs that you want to play. That's why I quit taking lessons. I just got tired of doing all the drills and all the, the theory, which I'm very grateful that I did learn enough to get me started. But I have some songs that you like to play. So I'm gonna one familiar song, one less familiar. The first one I'd like to show you is called Isa Lay. Again, it's a Fijian song from the island of Fiji. That is kind of like if you go to Hawaii and they play Aloha E when you leave. This is Isa Lay's the song that they likely play when you're getting on the plane and you got all the the natives there sending you on your way. It's a really beautiful song. I first heard it from a group called the Weavers, and they don't do slap key, but they were a folk pop crossover group in the 60s. Just fantastic harmonies, good musicianship. And there's some samples on YouTube too of guys playing it as well. So I'm kind of working on it. I'm going to throw that out here and explain how I do that. And that's one of the songs you can be working on. So what am I doing? These are a parallel sixths, I think, or parallel thirds, I'm not sure. Got the nice bass going, I got a nice G in the bass. And I'm playing on the 4th and 5th strings. Open, 2, 1, 4, 3. And I can play this D on top too. And then I'm going to the bar C chord, 5th fret. Picking up a note here at the 7th fret of the 4th string, and then I'm on the top string, and then I'm doing my 7th position G chord, which is open, 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 7, 8, 9, and then I'm switching to a C chord. I like to do the 4-finger version, so I'm at 10, 9, 8, 10. The melody's on the top, as always. Back to the 7th position G chord. 7, 8, 9. Bar D at the 7th. 5th string, 7th fret. 8th fret. And I can either do open on the 6th, so 5th string, 7, 8, open, not open, but 7th fret of the 6th string. I like to use my pinky too, and then back to a G chord with the 5th fret of the 6th string where my melody is. And there's just some ornamentation. So I'm on the 2nd fret of the 6th string with a pull up, and then going to slide on the 4th string from 2 to 4. A, B, G. G, E, D, A, B, G. And I'm just going to repeat that same phrase, so we'll go over it nice and slow again. Open, open, 2, 1, 4, 3. 5th and 4th strings. Bar, 5th fret. Gotta use your pinky, sorry, but you know, you've got it there for a reason. It's not just ornamentation. So it's at the 7th fret of the 3rd string. G chord, 7th position. C chord. Back to G, 7th fret bar. And the 3rd line, we're going from G to a C. I think this, you know, you can do it, learn it both ways, but I kind of like this 5th fret bar better for my C in this particular circumstance. Melodies on the 5th string. 8, 8, 7, 5. Sliding from 8th fret to 7th fret of the 5th string. And I still got the E note, so even after I come off the C chord back to the G, I'm still playing that E note. I can do it either way. I've got 2 ways to make that D. And then back to familiar 7th position, 7, 8, 9, bar at the 7th. Repeat the same line, 8, 8, 7, 5, 5, 3, and now I'm on the G chord, 5, 6, 7, 7, D chord, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 10, 7. That's really how simple it is, okay? Maybe the melody's unfamiliar for now, but after you hear it 2 or 3 times, you'll start picking up on it. And again, I would refer you to the YouTube clips, either of the Seekers if you enjoy excellent harmonies, or there's a couple of tutorials even, different groups or individuals playing it on the guitar in this open G Taro Patch tuning. So you know, check your YouTube out for further instruction on that. The other thing is, I think I went through things in enough detail here that you can just learn it a phrase at a time. And you know, if it's a little fuzzy, go back and look at it 2 or 3 times, and then just work on that phrase until you get that down. And then as you chain them together, you'll pretty much have it down. So you know, it's just that it's actually a pretty simple, straightforward melody. Just unfamiliar, that's all. So work on that. I'm also going to give you another song that's more familiar, that's you know, Silent Night, like we talked about, because it lays out well on this open tuning too. And like I said, Keith Richards uses open G, and there's other applications, but we're you know, delving a little bit outside of the realm of traditional Polynesian music here, and that's okay. Again, this is folk music, and there's nobody that comes around. Don't worry about the music police. You know, they might write you a ticket or something, but the judge is on your side, so don't fret about that too much. So here's Silent Night. So that's the rusty August version of a song that I probably would play better in the middle of December, but that's okay. Again, this is not I'm not a virtuoso, I just am a guy that likes to have fun playing music. So I'll show you what I did. Learn it this way, and then please feel free to find things to make it your own, because that's when that's really a rush to take a song and to put your own touches on it, and then you can claim ownership of it. So I'm going to show you what I did for Silent Night, and you can take the parts you like and modify the parts you don't like. That's what I'm suggesting. So again, melodies on this D. So what do we have? Open, second open, fifth string open, D, E, D, B. Same thing again. That's another way, I'm doing this double thing, sliding from A up to B on the fourth string. Just something different. You're playing the same phrase twice, and find ways to vary it a little bit. Okay, bar at the 7th, melody on the top, 7th fret. And then we're on the 5th string at the 7th fret. All is calm. 5th, just this, one finger, just the G note over the G chord. And you can just do it here too. C, you can kind of feel it, because if you can make a 7th out of a chord, you're pretty likely going to a chord that's 3 full steps above. You're going from the root 1 chord to the 4 chord, which is C, which is a bar at the 5th fret. So what do we have? Plucking 5th fret of the 5th string, 8, 7, 5, 5, 5, 8, 7, 5. Simplified version, 6th string over G chord, open, 2nd, open, open B, 5th fret open. That same phrase. So C chord, bar at the 5th, 8, 7, 5. Open, 2nd open, 5th open. Then we go into a bar D chord at the 7th fret. Melody on the top, 6th string. 10, 8, 10. So 10, 7. And then 7th of the 5th string. 5th fret of the 6th string over a G chord. To the 9th fret. Or you can make the whole chord. Just going out with the last phrase. 5th fret of the 6th string, open 6th, open 5th, and then a D, more the standard D chord. So I'm on the 5th string, 3rd fret over D chord, 3rd, 1st, 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then closing it out. Here's our final note, 4th string open. And then just whatever kind of flourish or whatever you want to put on the end. So that's Silent Night. there's two pretty straightforward songs you can work on until you feel like you got some sort of a feel for it, and then pick some other songs, preferably in the key of G, at least while you're getting started. Now, just because you're in open G tuning doesn't mean you can't play in other keys. If you're playing with a singer and they want to sing Silent Night in B flat, what do? Do you panic? Do you tune all your strings up? No, you get your capo at the 3rd fret, and then all the fingerings are the same. So that's just a common sense thing that most of us already know. But have fun with it. Like I say, devote your second guitar to open tuning. If you want to try some of those other ones at Everett, that video is on this channel too. I chose to put these instructional videos on my Chord Melody Uke channel, which is a channel I started up about a year and a half ago to do finger-style uke things. So if you're a uke player, you might want to look at some of those too. If you're really interested in open tunings or alternate tunings, watch that Everett video too. It's just dropped D, which is your standard tuning is E, A, D, G, B, E. All I did was drop this low E to to a D. That's one of the tunings on there. And then the second tuning was dropping the A down to a G. So that video has got D, G, D, G, B, E. This video is D, G, D, G, B, D, which is the open G tuning. So there's a lot of similarity there too. There'll be some crossover things that you can figure out how to apply from one tuning to the next. So there's always a common thread that goes through these things. So I encourage you to give it your best shot, work at it. Be glad to try to help you if you get stuck and you're just going, hey, I like this, but I don't understand one thing, and I got a question. So if that's the case, please feel free to shoot me off an email, chordmelodyyuke, one word, chordmelodyyuke @yahoo.com. And I check that box pretty close to daily, if not daily, so I'll be able to get on top of that and help you out any way I can. So again, I'm Johnny Hunt. Thanks for watching. Just a commercial here. I'm also in a group called Musica. We do gospel, pop, folk, bluegrass, a little bit of jazz. It's a wide variety of music, and I'm in with some really talented people. It's got some really nice harmonies there. You're welcome to invited to check that out. That's youtube.com/Muzyka, MUZYKA 2007, or you can check the band website, www.muzykamusic, again, MUZYKAMUSIC.com. That's got a calendar, it's got some clips from our CDs, and so I'd invite you to take a look at that as well. So good luck with your key hoalu. Aloha until next time. This is Johnny Hunt signing off.